everyone, it's Sarah. Welcome to my crochet channel. Now today's video I'm going to show you how to crochet a plastic bag keeper. And it's also really pretty because we're doing some nice shell stitches and it's open so you can see your bags inside. Now I love to use my small bags that I get from Walmart or Target or the grocery store, and it's nice to have something just maybe hanging in the closet where you can pull out a fresh trash bag when you want to replace the liner in your small trash can. Plus, you can reuse these. You can hang this in the car, take it with you, and then reuse your plastic bags as well. So it has lots of different uses and ways to help us reuse our trash, or I should say our grocery bags. I call it a trash bag because I keep them in my car and lots of other places to reuse as small trash bags. Now it measures 15 inches long, not counting the handle, and it's about 9 inches around. So it's a really nice size. And it holds a lot of bags because the way we make it is very stretchy, so you can stuff a lot of bags inside. Now this is a free crochet pattern on my blog, and as always, you can find that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. To make your easy plastic bag keeper, of course, you're going to need some yarn. I used the Comfy Cotton Blends by Lion Brand for my easy plastic bag keeper. This is a number 3 weight, and the name of this is called Fireside. And I really like the way that it crocheted up. For today's demonstration, I'm going to be using this Comfy Cotton Blend. Again, Lion Brand. It is a number 3, and it's called Spring Meadow. And I really like these yarns for this project because it is a cotton blend, and this blend is a 50-50 cotton polyester, and I really like that for this project. You get a good sturdy bag for your keepers, but it's also nice and stretchy so you can fit a lot of bags inside. You're going to need approximately 4 ounces. That might be a little high as far as the amount you need, but you're going to need about 4 ounces, and these have 7 ounces on them, so you can almost get 2 from one of those cakes. All right, so now if you don't have this comfy cotton, you can use any cotton blend or acrylic that you have on hand. You can use a medium 4 or a light 3 that you have on hand because some cottons are just a smidge thinner. These, in my opinion, are pretty thick for a light number 3. But you can use peaches and cream, you can use sugar and cream. I love this cotton, or any acrylic, like I love this yarn or Red Heart Super Saver to make this bag. Just keep in mind, if you use a thinner weight yarn, it's going to be just a little more narrow. All right, so you're also going to need one of these bands, and we put one down at the bottom in order to keep that closed up, and when you pull your bags out so that it has a nice stretchy edge. And this is just your basic goodie bands. Make sure you get the ouchless ones that don't have the metal clasp, and I don't even know if they still make those. And you can use brown or black or whatever color that you want to match your yarns. I used a brown for this one. I'll probably use this teal for this one just so it doesn't show through, but I might just use the brown. It doesn't really matter to me as long as it doesn't show up too much. We're going to be stitching today with our H hook, which is a 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. You're going to need your needle and your scissors. We're going to begin stitching around our band and then working our way up the bag. So what we're going to do is start with a slip knot, and we're going to single crochet around this band for 27 stitches. And how we do that is we go in we pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through both loops. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and I'll continue around until I have 27 single crochets on my band. I've stitched those 27 single crochets around my band. I'm going to go in that first single crochet and slip a slip stitch, stitch a slip stitch, and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. This first chain 3 counts as our first double crochet on this row, and we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of those single crochets. So we have 27 single crochets. We're going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of those 27 single crochets. Yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2. So we're stitching 1 double crochet in each single crochet around. I stitched 1 double crochet in each of those single crochets around. I'm going to join to the top of that chain 3 with a slip stitch and chain 3. And now I'm going to repeat what I did on this row. I'm going to place 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets around. And again, we'll have 27 double crochets. So 1 double crochet in each stitch around. We'll join back to our chain 3 and chain 3. I have completed that second row of double crochet, and again I have 27 double crochet stitches, and remember our chain 3 counted as our first double crochet. We're going to join to the top of that chain 3 with a slip stitch and chain 3. Now on row 4 we're going to begin our shell stitches. Our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, and we're going to double crochet 2 more in that same stitch. We're going to chain 1. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches and stitch a shell stitch in the next. And the shell stitch is 3 double crochets in the same stitch. Chain 1, skip the next 2 stitches and shell stitch in the next, which is again 3 double crochets in that same stitch. Chain 1, skip 2, and shell stitch in the next. And this is the way this row should look. Shell stitch, chain 1, skip 2, shell stitch, chain 1, skip 2, shell stitch, chain 1, skip 2, and repeat. And chain 1. And I'll continue this around and join back to my chain 3. I've completed stitching those shell stitches around. You should have 9 shell stitches with your chain 1s in between. Here's my last shell stitch, chain 1. Here's my last 2 stitches to skip. We're going to join to the chain 3 with a slip stitch. Then we're going to slip stitch in the center double crochet and chain 3. And we do it this way because we want to make our first stitch in the center of our first shell stitch. And so we're going to stitch 2 double crochets in that same stitch, and chain 1. And so why we slip stitched in that center is so that our shell stitch will be centered on this shell stitch. We chained 1. We're going to stitch a shell stitch in the center stitch, which is the second double crochet of that shell stitch. And chain 1. And this is the way that this row will work. Chain 1, we'll stitch a shell stitch in that center double crochet of the previous shell stitch on that row. 3 double crochets, which is our shell stitch, stitched in the center double crochet of that shell stitch of the previous row, chain 1 and repeat. 1, 2, 3, chain 1. And see how our shell stitches are lining up right in the center of the shell stitches. Shell stitch, chain 1. And again, we're going to have 9 shell stitches because we're not adding or subtracting any stitches. One, 2, 3, chain 1. All right, so I'll finish this around and I'll join back to my chain 3, stitching a shell stitch in the center stitch of the shell stitch from the previous row, chain 1 and repeat. I've completed my shell stitches in my shell stitches all the way around, and again I'm going to join to my chain 3 with a slip stitch and then slip stitch in that center double crochet of that first shell and chain 3. And what we're going to do now is we're going to repeat row 5 for 16 more rows. We're going to continue repeating the shell stitches in our shell stitch, chain 1, all the way around, join, chain 3, and repeat, which is row 5 for 16 more rows. I've completed my 16 additional rows. I joined to the top of my chain 3 and I chained 3. And the reason we're going to chain 3 is because we're not going to do any more shell stitch rows. We're simply going to do some double crochets. And what we're going to do is stitch 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets. So we'll stitch a double crochet in these 3, and then we'll stitch a double crochet in the next 3. We will not stitch a double crochet in the chain 1 space. So what we're doing is we're only stitching a double crochet in the 3 double crochets of each of the shells. We are not stitching in the space between where we stitched our chain 1. One double crochet in each of only the double crochets around. We'll do this all the way around the top, and then we'll join back to our chain 3. And just to make sure you understand, we are not stitching in the chain 1 space. We're only stitching 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets only, and those are our shell stitches, around. I've completed that row of double crochet. I'm going to join to the top of that first chain 3 and chain 3. And now for this row, we're just going to repeat 1 double crochet in each double crochet around. One double crochet in each of the double crochets, stitching all the way around the top, and then we'll join back to our chain 3. I completed that second row of double crochets. You should have 27 double crochets. I joined to the chain 3, and I only chained 1, and that's because this row we're going to stitch a row of single crochets. So we'll go in the first double crochet and stitch a single crochet. So 1 single crochet in each of the double crochets around. This is going to give us a nice sturdy edge to attach our handle. So I'm stitching 1 single crochet in each double crochet around, and then I'll join back to my first single crochet. I completed that row of single crochet. I joined to the first single crochet with a slip stitch, and now I'm going to chain 30, and this is going to be our handle. I've chained my 30 chains for my handle, and we're going to join to the 13th single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. All right, so here's our 13th. We're going to join with a single crochet. Then we're going to single crochet in the next stitch. We're going to chain 1 and turn. Now we're going to single crochet back across the handle. So we'll go in that first stitch and stitch a single crochet. And now we're going to place a single crochet in each of those chains. We want our bag to have a good sturdy handle, but you know, plastic bags aren't real heavy. I was going to say expensive. They aren't real heavy, and so you don't need it to be real thick, just thick enough to hang up and hold the bags. But also, when I pull a bag out the bottom, I'm pushing or pulling a little bit on that handle, and so we want it to stay nice and sturdy. So I'm just going to single crochet in each of these 30 chains till I reach back to the other side of the handle. I stitched all the way across, stitching single crochets in each of the chains of my handle. I'm going to join in the next single crochet from where I started, and then I'm going to slip stitch in the next stitch. Cut my yarn and tie off. Now we just need to use our needle and weave this end in as well as the end where we started. And this particular yarn can be a little bit tricky with weaving in, and so I like to try to go through some of those fibers and stitches. Just kind of weave it around there. go. And I find that if you go one way and then turn and sort of go back the way that you came, going through different fibers of the yarn, that it holds really well. So here's the one that we just made, and here's the one that I used as my test, and they're the same size. They measure about 15 inches long and about 9 inches around. And if you want your bag to be longer, you can continue your shell stitch rows till it's as long as you would like. It's a pretty bag and it's a useful bag.